All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Flock Safety's webinar on 5 ways property managers can show their value to residents. I'm Carolyn, and I'm joined by Meg here. So I am in charge of digital marketing at Flock Safety, and Meg here is our community safety expert.
Thanks, Carolyn. Each day, we are talking with thousands of property managers, local authorities, and vendors across the nation. And we're learning and hearing so many great things that can help you continue to show the value that you bring to your residents. So what we really want to do today is take you through those learnings that we've captured to really help you maximize the value that you provide to your residents and make that something that they see and understand, and kind of understanding why we're doing this today and why Flock cares. Our mission statement is to eliminate nonviolent crime from communities, and this is through our license plate reading cameras for neighborhoods. So to continue with that theme of helping communities stay safe, we want to continue with sharing learnings that we gather as we are out there learning more about property management and different needs that communities have to keep them safe, but also drive overall value to residents. So I'm going to take you through some key steps and learnings that we've pulled together today. But before that, I'm going to pass it back to Carolyn to cover some housekeeping.
Yeah, so first things first, this webinar is being recorded. So if you have to cut out early or anything like that, we'll be sending it out. We'll be sending the link to the recording out afterwards. We also have a Q&A going, so feel free throughout the webinar as questions come up to ask us anything in the chat or in the Q&A. And we'll have a Q&A section at the end of the webinar where Meg will address those questions. And then also, we really encourage you to stay to the end because we have an exclusive bonus giveaway that only the people in this webinar are getting access to right now. So if you want to have access to that exclusive piece, stay till the end.
Exciting. All right, so let's kick it off. Number 1, get optimized. It may seem simple, but taking a step back to review your processes can really make all the difference. And as we go through these steps today, some of them may seem a little silly or something that you've already done before, but really what we wanted to cover is everything that can help someone that's getting started out in the industry, or confirmation, or a time to reassess for those that have been around for a while. So when you're thinking about the different things that you do each day, some of those things that get you frustrated, that bog you down, the little tasks end up building up to take over the majority of your day. We find that when you take a step back and assess those and look for ways that you can offload those and optimize them, you can create more time to build those relationships with your residents. So what that looks like in practice is automating different tasks that you have that are repetitive, that you can use tools that are out there to optimize that process. So anything from billing and mailing to printing, we have heard some really interesting things from different property managers when talking to them about ways that they're saving time throughout their day. Things like MailChimp is a free email service that you can leverage, that they have templates. So if you're looking to get a newsletter out and creating that printable version and getting it out to all residents seem to take up a lot of time each week or month, this is an easy way to leverage different tools that are out there and get optimized when it comes to connecting with your residents. Looking at subscription-based services are a great way to optimize different practices that you have within your community as well. We've heard some interesting things from different community managers on ways that they're creating additional revenue streams through things like hosting events for different groups within the community or outside of the community to bring in additional revenue. So if you have common areas like a pool, you can work with a local swim instructor to host lessons, or same goes with a tennis court. You can leverage that space that may not be use throughout the day, every weekday, and bring in some additional revenue through those channels. Also, we've heard of different people using unused space throughout the community to companies like utilities for, say, it's a telephone company that needs a pole in the area, or a company that's looking to capture solar power. You can use space within your community to lend to them and create that additional revenue for your community. Looking at your next step in how you can create some more value for your community, investing in different technologies really help you leverage the latest and greatest that's out there and take things that may take several hours or days to put together and really get it done within minutes. One of the most intriguing things that I have recently, this was a presentation down in South Florida, is the use of drones. You think of drones, and when I think about it, it's like a good holiday gift to give someone that seems like a trinket, but this technology has really advanced throughout the years, and communities are using them to help with their annual reserves assessments, checking out roofs in the event of a storm to understand what kind of damage potentially occurred, as well as assessing the property in the event of a storm. So when it comes to tropical storm season, you may need to do an assessment before to understand what your community looks like as far as roofs go and the different landscaping pieces. And after a storm, you can leverage the drone companies that they have out there or your own personal drone to assess any sort of downed trees, anything that you may need to call crews into before bringing them in and kind of disrupting the full community. You can do your own assessment via drone. And another added bonus with using a drone is you can take some of that footage and use it for promotional content as well. Piping restoration. I don't consider myself an expert when it comes to piping, but there are big advances in technology that we have seen with piping that can definitely drive additional value. One of the cool things, if you will, about piping that we've seen is different inspection capabilities that they have through cameras. So they're taking video and putting them through the pipes to inspect, and it really takes out that guesswork from identifying the problem. So one funny story, there was a building that they were having issues that, the pipes weren't working correctly, so they brought in this company to do an assessment with the video pipe inspection, and they found that the company before many years ago had left the actual chain for a piece of tool in their pipes, and that's what was causing the clogs. So they were able to identify the issue and fix it through restoration and cleaning practices, all through the trenchless process. So it's not like you're having to really dig up a bunch of concrete within your buildings, bring in a bunch of crews. It's a pretty slim process that can happen quickly. When it comes to safety, we are very plugged into the industry and understanding trends and what local authorities are suggesting and recommending. This is really what Carolyn and I are digging into day in and day out. So we wanted to share some of the key elements of promoting safety and security within your community. When it comes to home security, so for residents, definitely personal cameras like the doorbell cameras are on the rise. And I understand that some communities, some HOAs need to assess the different rules and regulations that they have in place on personal use of camera. But we have found that most communities are embracing this affordable preventative technology for homeowners to invest in. And it really helps with identifying when an incident has occurred, and for the residents to be able to pull up details on the suspect that was involved with the crime or the incident. When it comes to would-be burglars, there are very simple steps that communities can take to cut down on the different, I guess, accelerators might be the best term to use that make burglars want to pinpoint a specific area. Things like putting in floodlights to make an area well lit are things that we've heard from the Ventura Police Department is a simple step. It doesn't seem like it would do much, but just having a well lit area definitely helps fend off those would-be burglars. Also putting up signage, letting visitors for the community know that your neighborhood is protected or under neighborhood watch at the different entrances and exits of the community. Your goal here is really to just make it obvious as possible to these potential thieves that they are being watched and they will be caught if they do anything. The third key piece that we wanted to share with you today is license plate technology. This is something that is not as common in the neighborhood space. It's really being leveraged by police and municipalities throughout the nation, and traditional ALPR technology, automatic license plate recognition cameras, are maybe what you've heard of before. Based on our research, 70 to 80% of crimes are committed in a vehicle. So when you have license plate reading technology in place within your community, you're able to track down the details related to that car that was a key within the crime, and that can be a pivotal turning point in a case. And something interesting, just I guess that was Monday, a couple days ago, we had Marietta Police Department here in our Atlanta office, and they shared the term case solvability, and saying that the number one factor in case solvability is that license plate, the evidence that they can act on. So having some sort of license plate video technology in place to be able to capture the vehicle details and the license plate is definitely a great way to promote safety within your community.
And before we move to the next slide, we have a short poll about technology in your communities. So I'm going to launch this now. And it is really just asking, or what are some technologies that your communities are saying they absolutely can't live without when they're day-to-day life or in maintenance or anything like that. So feel free to answer in the poll, and then if there's something that we haven't mentioned here, you can mention it in the chat or the Q&A box as well.
Thanks, Carolyn.
No worries.
So as folks are getting their answers into the polls, I'm going to shift on to our third key point for today, promoting brand awareness. This is something that I get excited about in reading different articles. You hear how important it is to promote your own brand. And one thing that stuck out to me is, if you don't define your personal brand, others will. So it's really kind of taking life by the horns, if you will, and doing things that can help strengthen your personal brand within the community so that they understand the value that you're bringing. The thing about brand awareness and promoting your own brand, it does definitely take time and effort and energy. However, if you're investing your energy in selective actions, whether it's engaging in specific projects, being sure to be present in asking questions within meetings, building relationships with key influencers within your community, all of these things are ways to definitely promote your reputation and make it known that the value that you're bringing is definitely well worth the property management fees, so that your HOA continues to respect you throughout the different board changes that may occur. The fourth step, making connections. Many of the steps to promote your brand can actually lead into building connections with your community, as well as fostering community relationships for your residents. This really helps to capture and build upon that power of your community that is so key in everything that you do. Time and time again, what we're hearing from local authorities is that when communities work together, they are stronger and safer. This quote here from the National Neighborhood Watch Program: burglaries nationwide decreased more than 30% throughout the 1990s, thanks to communities taking a more active role in stopping crime. So wanted to share this because I think it's very powerful in speaking to when you build a community that thrives together, they're safer. A couple of ways that you can build those connections and really bring this into practice. A couple of steps and tips that we've pulled together: reaching out to residents often, not just at time of renewal or when additional fees are needed. This seems like a no-brainer, but it definitely takes some planning. I know what we do sometimes for our communications is we build out a calendar for the year. What are the different pinpoints or touch points that we want to have with our community base, and what are some triggers that happen throughout the year that will help us bring those conversations up organically. It can be soft touches like seasonal reminders and different holiday greetings. It may seem like a little bit of effort during the holidays, but definitely holiday messages bring that warm and fuzzy feeling, if you will, that your property management company and team is thinking about you and that they care about you. So those are some definitely simple ways to have those soft touches. I know when colder weather occurs, sending reminders to keep those pipes going so they don't get frozen, or putting protection on plants so that they stay alive through colder temperatures are definitely common best practices. The third element here is the tie-in to local events. So this is not, last but not least, by any means, the local events are great. It's a way to not only promote your personal brand and the community coming together, but it's a great way to advertise your community to the different people that are maybe potentially looking to move. It's a great way for them to recognize, hey, this community is out there. They're doing wonderful things, and they're involved with not just their neighborhood, but the bigger community as well. When it comes to building a security plan, we consider this a key step with connections throughout your neighborhood. Building a security plan is crucial, really, in today's day and age. There's no excuse not to take some proactive, simple steps to ensure that your community is safer than they are today. We see across the board all different types of maturity when it comes to safety, but one of the key first steps that we always recommend to our customers and peers and colleagues out there is building a security plan to help prevent and solve crime. Do your neighbors know each other? A simple way to ensure that they knew how to contact one another or get the message out quickly in the event of a disaster, if there's a fire in the area, things like that need to be spread quickly. Time is of the essence. Having some sort of directory for your neighborhood and having it easily accessible to everyone, not just paper versions, but digital versions as well, is really key. And another thing that we're starting to see as part of that directory is letting different neighbors know who has home security systems, whether it's a doorbell or something in-home. What we hear from local authorities is understanding just who has this camera. They're not wanting to access the data day in and day out, just understanding who has that information so that in the event of an incident, they know who they can help bring in to canvass the area and understand the full story can be crucial when it comes to crime. Another thing that we typically like to see or see from more communities that are connected is the use of social media tools like Nextdoor. Definitely being responsible and having some guidelines for your community on how to use Nextdoor is key, because it can get away from a group very quickly if there aren't some suggested parameters of use. One thing that we've heard from different police departments that we work with throughout the nation is just because you have Nextdoor or some other tools, or different cameras in your neighborhood helping you be protected, you must always call and report a crime. That should be number one. And then leveraging your network and the different systems that you have can help build the story and capture the evidence that you need. Even if it seems small, like a stolen weed whacker, it's definitely important to share that with your local authorities, because if it happened once in your neighborhood, it may have happened in a couple other neighborhoods, and letting them know that there is continued activity in an area is the only way really they can help solve and stop it from happening again. Anything you'd like to add here, Carolyn?
I think that what you were saying about the police and social media, like going to the police first and then going to social media, we were talking with the Marietta Police Department, and they were saying a lot of times people will go to social media first and say, oh, there's a crime was reported, or a crime happened to me in this area, and then someone will copy that and say, oh, did you hear about all these crimes area? And then someone will copy that, and so it just sort of like builds on top of each other. And sometimes people then will be like, oh, look at all this crime that's happening right here, and the police, it was never reported to the police in any way. So there's nothing they can do about it unless people actively go report things that are happening. And another thing they said that I thought was interesting was that a lot of times people think it's just a small thing, like we were saying, like, oh, this like very small lawn equipment, or like somebody is like stealing things off my porch. It's too small of a thing to report to the police, but they actually, like you were saying, do you want to hear about each and every single thing? Because oftentimes, if one person is doing it in one neighborhood, they're going to the next neighborhood and doing the same thing, and they can sort of take all that data and all the information they get from cameras and license plate reading cameras and sort of like triangulate what was happening to have more information, like you were talking about the solvability of the crime, to actually get down and solve the crime that's happening. So it's all part of building a great security plan. Good job.
Exactly. So the fifth and final step kind of sounds corny, but it's important to bring joy to everything you do. You are someone that people go to in times of frustration and times of confusion, and your guidance and your positivity really helps make their community experience better, and definitely help promote their love of their neighborhood and their community. The thing that we hear often, and I know that there's a lot of courses out there in how to handle tough conversations and to not get sucked into drama. One thing, I was at a talk recently in Palm Desert, California, where they were talking through ways to get through those tough conversations and not really let them ruin your day. And I think a good tip is to definitely empathize with your residents and understand where they're coming from, but don't give into negative language or ignoring them by any means. Understanding, trying to handle it quickly and as non-drama as possible, if you will, is the best way to get it solved and get things done. And a great way to take an opportunity like that, where someone's complaining, say, about the pansies that were chosen at the front of your gate. They're really upset about the different plants that were chosen. Recommending a committee to be created around landscaping and nominating that person to lead the committee can be a great way to put the power back into their hands. Let them know, you're definitely the expert and you can help provide them with guidance. But if they feel strongly about something and have some great ideas, to create a committee of different residents and work with the board to get their recommendations into play. A couple of other things when reaching out to your network. Definitely, you've got great peers within the industry. There are groups like CAI that we work with, Community Associations Institute, that provide continuing education classes and networking for different property managers. If you're new to property management, or if you're looking for new ideas and you've been in the field for a long time, attending events with different property managers can be a great way to bounce ideas off of them. Most likely, if you've dealt with something, someone else has and come up with some type of solution. So definitely reaching out to that network and being able to not take something alone is key. And with continual learning and growth, we know that you can continue to evolve your community best practices and bring that value to your residents. And what we look to do here at Flock Safety is continue discussions like this and share the learnings that we're capturing from all these different events that we're going to, all these professionals that we're learning from, and continue sharing ways for you to not only preserve and enhance your properties, but protect them as well, because that's really how we can help eliminate the different crimes that occur with properties. So with that, I'm going to pass it back to Carolyn to do some question and answer time.
Yeah, so Meg was talking about leveraging your network. I have one more poll if you guys have a couple seconds. We just want to know, like, the general idea of how long you've been in property management, so that we can get, oh wow, someone's been in property management, multiple people have been in property management for over 12 years. That is awesome. You guys are like the super professionals. And then a couple of people for 8 to 12 years. This is awesome. I don't know how many like newer property managers you've talked to, but it seems like the people that you have spoken to at events, Meg, have a ton of experience that you've learned from and garnered this information from for this presentation.
Definitely. I would be interested if anybody has some feedback as to kind of some of the biggest changes you've seen in the past couple of years with your job and how you interact with your residents. I know that social media is something that growing in your role and interacting with that can definitely change, but interested to hear from the group if there's any sort of learnings that you've had that we can share with the rest of us.
Yeah, for sure. And then this next one, this is the part I'm sure you've all been waiting for. This is the special bonus that you had to wait till the end for, but we just released this latest report, the State of Neighborhood Safety. And if you write down this link, you should be able to access it. It's a PDF, and it's really information from a bunch of different sources, the FBI, studies done at the University of North Carolina, really just about who commits property crime, why did they commit it, what can property managers do to help their residents prevent it, and then if it does happen in your community, to solve it. So screenshot this, write the link down. It's super amazing, and we hope that it helps you in your jobs moving forward as well. And then the last is some question and answer time. We have a couple of questions that have come in, so I will just go ahead and ask Meg, since she's
all right. Lucky me.
Yeah. So the first one is you mentioned So you mentioned your personal brand. How does personal brand differ from the company brand, like that you're representing in your community?
I think that it really depends on the actual company. Sometimes if you're with a larger organization, they may give you the tools that you need to do a lot of these promotional activities and promote your brand. But some of the smaller ones may not have that. I think that, you definitely want to promote your personal brand so that you're relatable and have those personal relationships with your residents, so they know, oh, that's, Meg with Flock Safety, or, whoever it is, so that you're on a name-to-name basis. But it's definitely key to promote your company as well, and the value that your company brings by having you on board, and the value that you can get from the different vendor relationships and discounts that you can provide because you've worked on those relationships with different business partners. So I would say it goes hand in hand, but definitely having that personal element and not being too corporate. You have to think about the fact that, the HOAs are giving, most people on those boards are giving their personal time. So having that personal relationship is important for them.
That's a good point. Someone else said, we started a neighborhood watch in one of my communities, and it didn't really work as planned. So how do you suggest restarting that to be more successful?
I think that when it comes to neighborhood watches, it's interesting. I think the concept basically of a neighborhood watch has gone from, hey, let's have this like phone tree, you know, where we bring in people to do different things. If we see something suspicious, go down the phone tree, and it's evolved from, you know, email to maybe group text to now using Facebook groups or Nextdoor, different social media tools. I think if something has failed in the past, leveraging a committee to better understand how you can get the residents together to understand what will work for them for a neighborhood watch. Right. It can be, you know, something very simple, or if they want to build it out and make it more complex, that could be something that the committee owns. So my recommendation would be to definitely build a committee around it, but there are so many free tools out there like Facebook and Nextdoor that might be a good way to get it started and see how it grows from there.
Yeah, I like that. I think we'll just do one more. How do I get police involved on my specific neighborhood's like safety measures and their neighborhood watch?
Oh, that's a good one. And I think you can probably share a little bit about this too from the talks that we've had recently.
Yeah, so one thing I thought was super interesting, I live in a neighborhood with an HOA, and we are actually on Nextdoor, which you were talking a little bit about earlier. And we recently got a notification that the police are now getting, our specific police department in our community has decided to connect to our Nextdoor account, not to the accounts, but to our like actual community. So like,
like the group.
Yeah, to the, I guess, the neighborhood community. So anything that we would publish on there that we want to push to the police, there will be an option to connect it to that police department. And they were saying, you know, of course, they don't have access to your data and your information and like posts that you don't want to necessarily involve police in, but it's like another way for them to connect to your neighborhood online where people actually are, which is where we're hearing a lot of people are complaining nowadays. It's like go online first.
Definitely.
And I think another way to really get police involved is to honestly like invite them to your HOA and property management meetings. Like ask them. That's what we did essentially with the Marietta Police Department. We invited them here and asked them a bunch of questions like, how can we improve neighborhood safety? What is, you know, the thing that stops you from being able to solve a case? What are the factors involved in this? And I think if you invite those people into your community, like neighborhood safety is important to them as well, and property safety is crucial in their jobs. So they want to help prevent crime so that they can focus on other things. Like they don't want to have to like not be able to solve potential crimes that are happening, but they also want to be able to have the information. So building the connections, I think, is super key.
Yeah, and one thing to just piggyback on what you said, when I was out on the West Coast recently, and they have a large homelessness population issue in some of their communities, and they actually have police officers that are liaisons for different areas within, or I guess more of like a focus within their department. So they had a specific liaison that was helping with the homelessness population, and he would come out and speak with the neighborhoods on ways to help prevent, you know, things from escalating within their community. So I think another way is, as you're going to reach out to your police and invite them to your HOA board, asking for specific liaisons for any sort of hot topic issues that you're having, so that you all can really leverage them to voice that expertise level and really drive home the value that you're building these relationships to help the residents in the end.
Yeah, and I think even just having a face at your meetings will be helpful. There'll be someone that people can connect to at those HOA meetings.
Agreed. Well, I think it looks like that was the rest of the questions. So definitely thank you all for joining today. We have our contact information here if you have any additional questions that you think of. And we'll be sending these slides out to the group, and we can probably share that link for the great white paper as well.
Yeah, and once this is downloaded, we'll send you guys a link to the recording as well.
Nice. Well, have a great rest of the day, and thank you for joining.
Thanks.